Little by little, you stopped touching yourself, not because the desire faded, but because someone at some point taught you that feeling, after 50, was forbidden. That pleasure had to be quiet, hidden, almost forgotten. But the body doesn't forget. It just waits for you to come back, to listen to yourself again, without guilt, without shame, just with presence. Today, I want to tell you something that maybe no one's ever said, but that could change the way you see yourself. And look after yourself from here on. Stick with me till the end, because this rediscovery starts now. One day, you look in the mirror and don't recognize yourself. The lines in your skin aren't the same. Your eyes carry more stories than sparkle, and your body, once synonymous with pleasure, now feels foreign. And then, when desire shows up, it comes disguised. Disguised as longing, restlessness, silence. Because desire, after 50, doesn't shout like it used to. It whispers between wrinkles, memories, fears. That alienation from your own body can block pleasure, not from a lack of desire, but from too much self-judgment. You feel, but you question yourself. You want, but you freeze, as if it's no longer appropriate to feel desire, as if, with age, the body lost its right to want. And then comes the question many quietly carry. If desire's still alive inside, why does it feel so far from me? Shame isn't just social, it's intimate. It ages alongside you, but hides better. It lurks in the jokes you swallow, the touches you avoid, the silence when the topic's pleasure. Hormonal changes are real, but there's an emotional shift few talk about, because the body changes. But the way you touch yourself also needs to evolve, with more listening, with more patience, with less pressure and more presence. You need to reconnect with your body without rushing, without a script, without dragging out comparisons to what used to be, because the body isn't the same, and that's okay. It can just be a different path, another way to live what still pulses. And if you feel like you no longer know how to touch yourself, maybe it's because no one ever taught you to do it with love, only with haste. And now, for the first time, you can learn. Learn to touch yourself, like someone who cares, like someone who listens, like someone who honors what's endured through time. And if what you call loss of desire is really just a lack of intimacy with yourself, touching yourself isn't always an act of pleasure. Sometimes it's just a quick relief. Empty, mechanical, unmindful. A habit done almost on autopilot, like pressing a button just to forget you feel. There are times when masturbation stops being care and becomes an escape, not from the world, but from yourself, from the emptiness that grows late afternoon, from a bed that feels too big, from a silence that echoes too loudly once the house sleeps. That intimate act, which could be a moment of meeting yourself, turns into anesthesia, something to fill time that's gone hollow, a desperate attempt to feel something, even for seconds, before returning to the emotional exhaustion no one sees. But pleasure without presence isn't pleasure, it's just motion. And that's exhausting. It tires you because it doesn't nourish, because deep down, your soul remains hungry. Being with yourself is different from hiding from everything. Being with yourself is inhabiting your body like someone entering a sacred space. But isolation turns touch into walls, not bridges. And little by little, a gesture that once might have been love becomes routine, automatic, solitary, emotionally mute. The difference between being with yourself and escaping the void lies in what comes after, what you feel when it ends. When the lights go out, if there's guilt, emptiness, shame, maybe it's time to change. Change the habit into a ritual. Change the gesture into care. Change the silence into presence. It's not about stopping. It's about starting differently, with more authenticity, with more respect, with more light. Because pleasure that's just relief doesn't sustain. But when it becomes reconnection, then it starts to heal. Lots of people don't talk about this, but what you feel after masturbation says it all. Some feel relief. Others a hard to explain emptiness, like they've done something wrong, even though they haven't. That silent guilt, with no clear reason, has deep roots. It's not in the act itself. It's in the history you carry. In the years, pleasure was viewed as sin. In the times your body was ignored. used, silenced. There's a sadness afterward. And it isn't about sex. It's about absence. About the feeling of being indescribably alone inside. That touch became the only tenderness you have left. And that weighs, because it reveals what you've refused to face. That perhaps you've spent too long trying to be strong and forgot to be kind to yourself. But you're not broken. You're just tired of abandoning yourself. The emotional impact of masturbation isn't just physical. It mirrors how you see yourself. If you feel shame, you need to listen to that shame, not obey it, but heal it. If you feel sadness, perhaps your body is crying out for more presence, more affection, more truth. Reprogramming that relationship isn't erasing desire. It's embracing desire with maturity, with respect, with awareness, turning touch into an act of love, not punishment, turning intimacy into a pause that reminds you you still matter, that you still deserve tenderness, that you're still alive. What you feel after pleasure reveals how much you care for yourself or abandon yourself. Not every touch is addiction. Not every repetition is escape. Sometimes it's just your body asking for presence, asking to be heard, not just used. When was the last time you touched yourself with presence? Without hurry, without guilt, without just waiting for it to be over. Masturbation can be a sacred pause, a moment of silent meditation where body and soul breathe together, where the gesture becomes care, not obligation. It's not about reaching the end. It's about staying whole in the journey. There are simple practices that shift everything. Breathing that slows. Music that frames your touch with tenderness. Soft lighting, respectful time, clear intention. When pleasure becomes a ritual, it stops being an empty repetition. It becomes reconnection, a reminder that you still feel, still desire, still can gift yourself what the world has forgotten to give. It's not about pretending everything's okay. It's about creating a space where you can just be as you are, tired, longing, tender, and let your body be inhabited again. There's dignity in touching yourself with respect. There's beauty in making intimacy into genuine affection. Because when touch is conscious, it becomes home, a sanctuary where you return whole. It's not about touching yourself. It's about remembering you're still alive inside. For so long, they made you believe masturbation was a deviance, something minor, something solitary, something done in hiding and ending there, in the body. But no one told you it can be the opposite. It can be a bridge that leads you to deeper self-awareness. That shows where there's still hunger, not just physical but emotional, a bridge between the body's silence and the soul's contained scream. Masturbation can be a mirror, not one that judges, but one that reveals. Reveals what you're missing, the touch nobody's giving you, the presence that doesn't arrive, the tenderness left forgotten. When you let yourself experience this moment consciously, it can say so much about you, about your forgotten desires, about the needs you learned to hide, about the affections left half-spoken. And it's not easy to face, because autopilot is simpler. Do and forget, feel and stay silent. But when touch becomes a question, what am I missing in real life? Hux, that's when it starts to transform. It starts to guide. It starts to show where the emptiness is, and where a new beginning can emerge. The intimate moment doesn't have to be an end. It can be a beginning. It can be an impulse. It can be the awakening of a wider desire for connection, presence, truth with others and with yourself. Because when pleasure reveals, not just relieves, it becomes a compass, and you begin to move not towards an end, but toward connections that are more alive, more whole, more yours. And what if solitary pleasure is only the first step to finding who you are and the love you can still live? You don't need to hide from yourself anymore. You don't need to feel ashamed of what you feel or what you desire. Pleasure, when felt consciously, is an emotional right. It's a gesture of dignity. It's the body saying, I'm still here. I'm still yours. Oh, masturbation isn't the problem. The problem is abandoning yourself in the process. Repeating the gesture without soul. Living touch without truth. Leaving the moment feeling more alone than when you started. Your body asks to be heard. And listening takes courage. Courage to undo old taboos. Courage to relearn your own path. Courage to rediscover yourself, even with the marks of time, because time may have taken many things, but not your capacity to feel, not your hunger for affection, not the beauty that still lives in you. When touch becomes care, pleasure stops being a secret. It becomes reconnection. It becomes part of your journey back home. Home. That is your body. Home. That is you. And if you doubt you still can, let me remind you, you still have time. Time to come back. Time to touch yourself with presence. Time to turn guilt into tenderness. Silence into listen. Habit into affection. You aren't too late for anything. You're just in a time where everything needs more meaning, including pleasure. If you've made it this far, it means this message touched you. So I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks, and catch you in the next video.